Welcome to the Human Frequency on American Freedom Radio. This is listener-supported Truth Media, and we're very thankful to be here tonight. We're also very blessed to be coming to you from California, up in the Los Padres National Forest, in the beautiful mountains overlooking the great Central Valley, which is ground zero in the weather war in California. Every day we are working to restore the climate here and also to raise consciousness through orgonite gifting.
And there are some pretty cool bird species up here, too.
Gabriel's been researching the various birds of our community. We've got...
we've got the Steller's jay, we've got the acorn woodpecker, we have Brewer's blackbird. That's my latest finding. We got a nice assortment.
Don't forget the grosbeak.
Well, I haven't seen any grosbeaks. They usually have yellow in them.
Okay, well, I like the name.
I bet you do. Anyway, grosbeaks notwithstanding, we have many visitors to our birdhouse, which we keep stocked daily with a plentiful assortment of seeds and whatever comes in the bag, and hopefully nothing GMO is in there.
Yeah, my concern is with the corn. I feel kind of almost guilty.
Well, I feel that the birds hopefully will have the cognizance to be able to avoid those items and go for the more healthy stuff.
The Stellar Jays have no cognizance. They just swoop in, screaming their heads off, chasing everyone else away, and they go for the GMO corn.
Sounds like me. Minus the GMO corn.
That's a typical American.
I come in screaming, though.
Typical American.
I drive everyone else away. It's kind of embarrassing in family functions, I must say.
Well, today I was doing meditation because things have been a little bit, kooky lately in life, and I've been returning to a meditation practice to kind of, help calm down.
Kooky? You don't say.
A little kooky, energetically. Today I felt compelled to look up the mantra. I have these cards that I got from the Kadampa Meditation Center. I used to meditate there for a long time in Los Angeles. And I got these cards for different Buddhas, deities, and they have different mantras. And I felt compelled today to look at the Dorje Shugden card. His mantra is Om Vajra Wiki Vitrana Soha. Please be with me always, like the shadow of my body, and grant me your unwavering care and protection. Destroy all obstacles and adverse conditions. Bestow favorable conditions and fulfill my wishes. Om Vajra Wiki Vitrana Soha. Dorje Shugden is a wisdom Buddha who appears as a Dharma protector. He is in the aspect of the Dharma protector. What this means is he is protecting our spiritual practice, and he destroys demons. He destroys maras. And this is a key towards our ascension, is to destroy these demonic entities. And indeed, the demonic entities could be metaphorical. So it may not be a physical entity. You don't have to think of it that way. But we need to destroy our delusions so that we can awaken, because we're living in the world of illusion.
Absolutely. I think the biggest illusion right now is that people have forgotten who they are, their true nature, what it is. And I think that is number one here. And all the other problems stem either directly or indirectly from that big one.
That's huge. We have forgotten who we are. And we are the creators. I almost said the protectors of our world, which is actually true, because we are the creators of our world. And we need to create a peaceful world and a healthy world. What's really important about Dorje Shugden practice is that this is a practice that helps us to destroy our delusions. And he gives us ultimate protection. And I believe these deities and these entities actually are out there. I believe this is a real thing, that there are realized beings who have devoted their entire existence towards blessing us. So the Dorje Shugden practice is something that is very important to Kadampa Buddhists, and that is a Western form of Buddhism that originated in England with Geshe Kelsang Gyatso, and there are many meditation centers around the U.S. that teach this practice to Americans in a way that modern people can understand. In Tibet, there are many Buddhist people who practice Dorje Shugden worship. The Gelug Buddhists and others are practicing this form of worship and meditation. Now, there's a big controversy that's gone on in recent years, And this is that the Dalai Lama has forbidden this practice. Why does a religious leader forbid a spiritual practice?
Well, perhaps he's not a religious leader after all. Perhaps he's just a political figurehead.
That's what he is. And what I've learned about Dalai Lama is he's a member of the CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations, which is a globalist, elitist think tank that is hell-bent on one world government. So we learned that he is not only not a religious figure, but that he is involved in the global elite that wants to dominate humanity. So I have reason to believe that this practice is such a consciousness-opening experience that this is something that the New World Order wants to prevent. I have a video you could check out where I went to a protest in Los Angeles. This is back in February of 2014, and I documented it. Check out my Vimeo page. It's The Chembo on Vimeo, and you can also reach us through our website, thechembo.com. Well, our guest has arrived, and our guest is John Robson. And John Robson has been studying and documenting aerial particulate spraying for the last 5 years in California. So he's doing a lot of the same kind of work that Gabe and I are doing. And he's been making orgonite devices and observing the positive effects that they've produced in Central California in clearing up the geoengineering toxins and restoring rainfall. He's from San Luis Obispo and has done extensive orgonite distribution in Central California and Central California coast region. His main focus is the Doncroft chembuster, which is modeled after Wilhelm Reich's cloudbuster. John's also studied the effects of his orgonite generators on sleep and consciousness awakening. And he was part of a revolutionary panel that we did in LA back in September of 2015, the Orgone Energy Panel. So I'm very happy that John could join us today and share his experiences with orgonite work and orgonite gifting in California.
Thank you for coming on, John. Welcome to the Human Frequency.
Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for asking me and inviting me to join you tonight on American Freedom Radio.
Well, you can also enjoy us.
Please enjoy us.
Yes, I can enjoy.
We could talk for hours, you know. You could just sit and listen, but we actually want you to tell us all about what you've been doing and anything new you've got going on in the orgonite world.
Okay, very good. Let's see here. I started studying orgonite and orgone energy about 4 years ago. Someone brought to my attention the word chemtrails, and I noticed that when somebody said that to me, I all of a sudden just took notice of the sky. And at that very moment, I can still picture it in my mind today, I saw a plane going over with a very long trail behind it, and then another and another. And that particular day, after a period of time, we lost the blue sky. And it really struck me that I had been walking around for years and years, and this quite possibly could have been happening over my head the entire time. So the very next day, I observed the sky. Same exact thing happened. Day after day after day. And I noticed that we had 1 day of blue sky, and every day, 6 days a week, it was a whiteout. And I was shocked. I thought chemtrails was something that happened somewhere in another state with one pass. And people were complaining that this one trail would be, or this one plane would be passing by and one trail would come out, and then they were speculating on what was in it. And here it was above my head, in my sky, in my community, in my state, happening right above my head, and I finally took notice of it. And then a family member told me that there was something that I could do, that there was a machine that you could build that could help greatly reduce the effects of the spraying that was happening up in the sky. So I did some research on the internet, and I found a couple tutorials, and I found Don Croft's chembuster. And so I made one. I made a chembuster, and I put it in my backyard, and I'm a very skeptical person. I'm very evidence-oriented. So when I put this chembuster up in the backyard, I was big on making observations and documenting. As soon as I put it up, there was some amazing things that happened in my neighborhood. It would blow holes up in the sky through clouds and such. It also brought some magnificent, beautiful clouds to my house. The first week that I had it up, it was amazing, the venticular clouds that were surrounding my house. It was absolutely amazing. It gave me chills that I actually made something that was participating with the weather, with the environment.
It is such an amazing feeling when you first do it. I mean, us too, especially in the first months, seeing these just phenomenal clouds coming in, like real beautiful, luscious, natural clouds. It was like an amazing experience.
Well, let's talk about the Chembuster design itself for a moment. For people who are unfamiliar with the Chembuster and how it relates to other orgone energy devices, what is a Chembuster and what ingredients or materials, rather, does it contain?
Well, my first Chembuster took me some time to make because you're working with I was working with toxic resin. And so basically what a Chembuster is, it's a 2-gallon bucket that you can get at your Home Depot. And then I made 2 platelets, 2 designs with 6 holes in these round platelets, one that goes into the bottom of the bucket. And these 6 holes are if you drew a 6-tipped star and you placed a circle at the tip of each tip, drew a circle at each tip of that star, you would get a design. And that's the design that I went with. And basically you put this template in the bottom of a bucket, fill it up with resin and metal that you can get from machine shops. You can get this metal from machine shops that use lathes. You can also use metals from people who make keys. And you just basically put more metal in around these pipes with more resin. And then I drop in some crystals and some different crystals and minerals that the internet suggested. Mm-hmm. I dropped in some kyanite, some selenite to help keep the crystals charged. I also dropped in some basic single terminated crystals, some citrine, and some iron pyrite. And then I finish up this entire bucket once you get all the way to the top with resin and metal with another template that holds the pipes in place. And these pipes are 1 foot long copper pipes, type M, as in Mary. It's a thinner copper pipe with caps on the bottom. So the bucket actually only has 1 foot copper pipes, 6 1-foot copper pipes coming out of it. And then you connect 5-foot copper pipes on top of that. And then inside the pipes, I lower a double terminated crystal with the positive end up.
How do you know
and
which
that's
is
basically,
which? How do you know which is the positive end?
Well, I do some work with Ruby Dragon in Morro Bay. It's a crystal store there, and the girls there work in Reiki and they work in massage and they work in other healing in the healing arts. And so when I came, because on the internet it talked about putting the positive end up. Right. And so I brought these crystals, 6 crystals to this gal. I'm like, I need to find out which end is positive. And she put her hand over the crystal. She said, these ends are the positive ends. So I took her word for it that those were the positive ends. But just because I like to prove things to myself, I brought those crystals back to another gal who said she could do the same thing to the same 6 crystals. And this gal found the exact same positive points.
Very
from
interesting.
Those same 6 crystals.
So they were positive.
I thought that was.
That's a cool
they
result.
were positive, yes.
That's a very cool result.
Yeah,
usually we're using just single terminated crystals, so I guess I can assume the single terminated is the positive end. I don't know.
Well, this is very interesting stuff, and yeah, we're definite fans of the 6-pointed design, not just because we're Jewish, but the 5-pointed pentagram thing.
Well,
just not so much a fan of that one.
It probably technically would work.
It's
to
the
clean
star.
the sky,
Yeah, it is.
You want to use
it is the
that.
Star of David, correct?
That's right. Well, I'm wondering also, where did you get your template for the Chembuster? I've seen a lot of people online making them, and there was one good video I saw from back in 2006. I'm just wondering where you got your template.
Well, on the internet, I found many, many tutorials on how to make this, and some of them actually had diagrams, and it was, Sharon, it was trial and error. Cutting a round piece of wood that would fit into the bucket, and it would rest about an inch or two above the bottom. And it was basically trial and error trying to get these circles on the six pointed tips of the star. It was like I said, I'll just have to repeat myself. It was just trial and error trying to get this design exactly the way that I wanted it. And then I manufactured many of those from that one template.
How many by now have you made?
I've made 7 chembusters now to date, and I have them spread up and down California, as far north as Big Sur, California, down to San Diego.
Wow.
Including the one that we have
Yes.
that you graciously made for us. Looks like a Gatling gun, and it still works still works very well.
Oh, it's an amazing
Excellent.
machine. And when we say machine, people might think that means there's mechanical parts, but this is actually a free energy generator. And you also are making the orgonite pieces like we do. Those are little generators. So you've got orgonite pieces all over your home, and I'm taking it that you've done the whole community because you guys have totally turned around the climate up there and restored it. So how have those orgonites helped you in your home?
Well, I tell you, when I first started making a chembuster, and I made one and saw the effects that it had, I saw that it greatly reduced. It did not eliminate, kind of works like wrinkle cream. Greatly reduces but not eliminates the aerial particulate spraying. And I've had tremendous increases in blue skies. And I've documented for years exactly how many blue sky days I'll have each month. And it's overwhelming, and it gives me so much satisfaction and happiness to know that I am participating in keeping the environment and the skies above me clean and healthy. So when I started looking at these chembusters, then I started researching these little interesting pyramid-shaped Oregon generators. And so I made several of these, and I handed them out to my friends. And I said, well, what is this? I said, well, it's just something to sleep with. And I didn't give them any information because I wanted an unbiased opinion. And this is, another example of the testimonies that came back were just incredible. The lucid dreaming, the processing, people sweating at night, dogs shaking and talking in their sleep, babies sleeping the whole night through, migraines diminishing in their strength or completely disappearing. The list goes on and on. It was pretty amazing. Yeah. And here at the house, we sleep really well. I put one next to my microwave. I put one next to, I don't have a smart meter anymore, but I put one next to my microwave, my
Get
computer,
rid of the microwave.
The cell phone. Yeah, sooner or later I probably will get rid of that
I'm
microwave.
glad you got
but
your
I
smart
bought a
meter.
tri-field. Yes, I got rid of the PG&E smart meter, and then the gas company would have dropped their version of a smart meter in, and I put a stop to that as well. But I bought a tri-field model 100XE meter.
We have one
allows
too.
me. Oh, great! So
Yeah.
you know exactly what
We
it
have
does.
the exact model, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can read and how much these pieces will suck up the electromagnetic frequencies from different devices. And that was more proof. Yeah. I could see it right there. I could see that needle changing with the presence of a piece of orgonite.
Yeah. It's great that you're evidence-based, and we appreciate that because we've been diligently documenting our changes here in Southern California as well for the past 2.5 years or so. And
the stuff you're talking about is not at all dissimilar to what we've been documenting, as Sharon said.
Well, yeah, and when you mention those clouds, what you first get, it's astounding because you see the chemtrails just break and clean up, but you also see these pristine, crystalline blue skies literally like I've never seen in my life. They look like tropical skies. They seem like something out of a dream. And I never had seen that in Los Angeles in my entire life living there. And now all of a sudden, things have transformed. And, you sent me some photos of Laguna Lake up in San Luis Obispo,
Oh, yeah.
and I really enjoyed looking at this. Last year, the lake was completely dry because of the engineered drought.
And we'll talk more about the
yeah,
engineered drought later, but this lake specifically is a very interesting and not at all unique story because this is what's happening now.
It's happening everywhere, and then I looked at the photos in the image search, and the last year it was completely dry and cracked, and this year it's completely full again. So I'd love for you to share your story of the work you did around Laguna Lake because you are actually responsible for the return of moisture there.
Well, it's kind of hard to take credit for something like that because it's so magnificent. It's so huge. It's so magical, and it's a miracle. But basically, I gifted Laguna Lake with TBs, very small, and I'm sure you talked about this before in your show, with the very small versions of orgonite generators.
Yes,
and I made a medicine.
The tower busters. Yes, we talk about them quite
TBs,
frequently.
yes. And I made a medicine wheel, but most importantly, I truly believe in the power of thought. And there's leading scientific research coming out now. They're looking at molecules, and they're looking at fine particles, atoms, and they're seeing how they act. And believing in something and being grateful and showing appreciation. And there's scientific research. Greg Braden is a wonderful lecturer on this topic.
Yeah.
But believing in something, I went out to that lake and I walked in the middle of that lake when it was dry, and I stood there and I pictured it full of water, and I pictured it just glistening and healthy, and I was grateful, and I was like thankful that this lake was full. And I truly believe that this has been going on for millions of years since the birth of mankind, that our thoughts can create and participate in the material world. So, not only did the TVs help and the medicine wheel help, but also it's the prayer, it's the communion that I truly believe we all have the power to use, and I shouldn't use the word power, but it's the ability to participate in our surroundings. Mm-hmm. So I believe that my thankfulness, my gratitude for walking out there and being thankful that lake was back up to its level and healthy, participated in its recovery just as much as the TVs.
Yeah, well, that ability is inherent within all humans. And yeah, to go back to Greg Braden real quick, we reference his talks and his work on our show quite a bit, as well as the work of Masaru Emoto, who I think Greg also references too, and that this Japanese scientist would take photographs of I think it was snowflakes.
It was water, frozen water
droplets.
Crystals, and yeah, he would show the before and after, polluted water, and then that was all distorted shaped. And then the after it had been blessed by Buddhist monks, for example, this water would then take this crystalline structural form that was very beautiful, it looked like a snowflake.
Mm-hmm. That's
yeah.
where it came from.
And also, if you would say certain words to the water, like if you would say love, then the water would freeze in a beautiful crystalline pattern. And if you would say something like, I hate you, then the water would get all distorted. And also the music was interesting, playing, I think it was Bach or classical music to the water would make it beautiful, and heavy metal just distorted it, which is kind of funny to me.
What about sticks? What would that do to it?
That would probably just make it completely implode.
Yes.
Well, the interesting thing is, again, to go back to what is inherent within us, is that, we commonly say on our show that we think of the orgonite as sort of like a vitamin supplement for our consciousness, because we live in such a polluted world, an electrically compromised world, that it can be very difficult for people to do what is inherent within them. And what orgone energy devices allow people to do is, by quieting that whatever is holding the process back. It can just happen organically and holistically. And that is exactly, I totally understand how you felt standing out there when you walked out onto the lake bed. Was probably all dry and cracked, and just visualizing it in your mind, that is what we are all about as living humans, is that we are the creators of our world, and we have the power to bring whatever we want. And it's only by manipulation from the parasitic entities that people can be fooled into bringing the wrong thing into manifestation.
I just want to add the science of orgone, which is life energy, always comes back to the science of consciousness. It always comes back to the spiritual. There's no way actually to talk about the science of orgone without talking about spiritual concepts. Wilhelm Reich himself said, "We have found our God," when we found orgone. Ken Rolla has called orgone energy universal God consciousness. Dewin Gardner, the author of The Science of Rain, he says the science of rain, where imagination prevails. And
it's all talking about the same thing, just different words for the same thing.
We're all bringing it back. It's the science and spirituality that merge here. Rainbow Thunderheart, may he rest in peace. I know he's still among us because I still feel his spirit protecting these mountains. Rainbow Thunderheart did medicine wheel ceremonies at many, many energy centers on the earth to avert the supervolcano that they thought was going to erupt in 2004 in Yellowstone. And he reversed a drought in Big Bear around that same time here in Southern California. So what he did is he worked with the electromagnetic lines of the earth and of the sky, and he built these quartz medicine wheels and did these intense ceremonies. And the clouds in the sky look just like what happens when we distribute orgonite. He first came to us, Gabe and I, at a 5D event, the first one that I ever spoke at.
A few months before the one where we had that orgone energy panel.
And he said that our work was like his work, and I was so honored. And I've since studied his work and had the honor of speaking with him on a couple of occasions, and he has gone to the next world now, and he's done so much to help us. So I just wanted to add, there is this tremendous spiritual connection here, and it can't be denied.
Absolutely. And this lake rising back up and filling with water after only one winter is pretty, like you said, it's a miracle, and it's pretty incredible. And this is the kind of stuff that's happening all over the place, especially in California, as the engineered drought is undone by the widespread distribution of these orgone energy devices, specifically to cell phone towers. We talk about this on our show a lot. That's where we tend to target our giftings. And it's had amazing results in California. And I know Sharon will agree with me. I'm very glad that you have documented these results, because having this all based, having this body of work that is based in factual evidence is absolutely huge, and it prevents a lot of the denial that inevitably comes out of it.
Yeah, thank you, John, for documenting it. We do appreciate it. Now, I want to ask you...
Oh, certainly.
Yeah, go on.
Well, I was just going to say, making a chembuster is not inexpensive. Copper is very expensive. The resin that I use is expensive. The crystals that I put it is expensive. And, it runs you about $350 to build one of these. And I would not be building 7 of these if I didn't think they worked, or if I didn't see the results. Right. I would have wasted, my time on this unless I had, facts that these items really work. I put one of these devices in my coworker's backyard, and his neighbor was growing sunflowers as he was as well, and they were growing tomatoes. And the neighbor poked his head over the fence one day and said, "What are you doing to your sunflowers? And look at your tomatoes and your chilies. What is going on? We planted these at the same time. We're using the same fertilizer. What is going on?" And so that was more proof to me that orgone energy is good for all living things. That it helps
it's
produce
life energy.
It is, literally.
Life energy.
Yeah.
And
it produces negative ions. negative ions, which everything lives healthier in a negative ionic atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. That's true.
It's funny that in around the end of 2013, when Sharon and I started first discovering orgone energy, and we hadn't learned about orgonite yet. We just knew about the chembuster design. And I remember for the longest time it was so daunting because we didn't know there were these simple devices that anyone can make. I mean, people can make a chembuster too, but it's very labor intensive, and like you mentioned, John, it's also very expensive. So we were just kind of dawdling and delaying, and just like, oh god, it's just so much. It just seemed an insurmountable obstacle to get all this stuff and undertake this massive project. So when we discovered orgonite,
the little generators,
the small ones, that just was a complete game changer for us. But needless to say, we're glad to have the chembuster there.
Yeah, it does an amazing job. I see it working. I actually have a picture of your chembuster working where it punched a hole in the geoengineering aerosols.
Perfect round circle.
It's perfect. Yeah. I should send it to you if you haven't seen it on my blog.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But you know what I put on that? Now, I've seen a lot. Oh, it is amazing. And I've seen a lot of pictures of this hole in the clouds. Now, Scott Stevens, the weatherman from weatherwars.info, he calls it a punch hole cloud or something like that. He says it's a burst of chi in the atmosphere. And on his website, he would say that and allude to the orgone. And then I've listened to him speak, and I heard him on another show here on AFR, Kate Willen's show, the Blue Sky Report, which is now Backstory.
Yeah.
I was listening to him on her show because she did a show all about geoengineering. And he talked about orgone energy and acted like we couldn't do it ourselves. And he said the chembusters didn't work.
Kept it very mysterious.
And,
in fact, said more than just a couple non-factual things.
Yes, he did. And I just wanted to say that I've seen this picture of this punch hole cloud in online many, many times. I saw it on his site. I've seen it in other places. And people say it's HARP doing that. And I have a picture of that exact same formation. The chembuster's pointed directly at it, and you can see it's the chembuster removing the aerosol. It's so obvious when you see it in real life. So I actually put this up on my blog, and I wrote, not HARP. And I just showed the hole, and then I showed your chembuster making the hole. And I said, chembuster. Yeah, this is intense, and this is your beautiful work.
It's exciting.
It is so exciting.
And because most people have the attention span of your average dung beetle, it was good to make a meme like that, where it was just the two pictures and the most simplest couple lines of text laid out. It wasn't this big rambling tirade that we usually put on the blog that nobody actually takes time to read.
You mean that I usually put on the blog? I'm the one that makes the tirades.
Yes.
I'm known for it. I have like 3 people who actually read them and like 1,000 people who don't. But anyway, but that picture really did say it all. And that's why I take these pictures every day, because I'm generating a body of proof. My hope here is that one day mainstream science will look at these years and years of documented photos, satellite images, and written accounts and say, they'll maybe take that as part of the story and be able to incorporate it in other findings regarding orgone. I hope that the mainstream scientific establishment embraces orgone at some point soon.
Well, I'm not holding my breath.
Well, I want to get back to John because I kind of rambled, but John, are you a San Luis Obispo native?
I came up to San Luis Obispo in 1981.
Okay, so you've been there a long time.
I've been here for a few years.
So you've been observing your environment there for decades. Now, I noticed in LA, chemtrails all of a sudden one day when someone pointed them out to me. I'd never seen it before. Was it like that for you? Were you living there and they're doing this and then, you just couldn't see it until a point?
Well, I think I just became aware. I think it was 2012 when something happened to me and I became awake. There was a lot of things that I believed in from the past, a lot of things that I believed in from my upbringing that virtually disappeared and disintegrated, and I started off fresh and new. it was a pretty amazing experience, starting fresh and new, with an absolute clean slate, wanting to believe things that I see, that I experience, not things that I've been told, not things that people have told people for generations to believe. The Fifth Agreement was one of the books that helped me become aware. Don Miguel Ruiz, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yes, you are.
He's a wonderful author.
I have the four agreements on my bookshelf, so I'm well versed in his work, especially in that particular type of stuff that he's trying to convey.
So his book, along with just an awakening that happened to me personally, under some interesting conditions, just made me start seeing things with new eyes. And that's what I described when I just started looking up in the sky and going, my gosh, what's going on up there? How long has this been going on? Mm-hmm. And then I see that it's been going on for years, and I see this is going on worldwide. If you watch Netflix or any shows or movies, and they're shooting in a different country, you can see in that country, in the sky, chemtrails all over the world. It's almost like this program is above political indifferences. It's actually quite mind-boggling.
It is. It's huge. It's huge. It goes beyond government. It's above government, isn't it?
And thankfully, in recent times, most of those chemtrails are now transmuting in these Netflix shows.
Now they are. We're seeing a difference. But John, do you find this to be something that is above our government?
I could only speculate, but our government, as we all know, and I'm sure the listeners believe in this as well, but they're all just puppets. And this is, this is above money. This is above money. I had this great article that I found in my local paper about a colossal solar plant hits a snag because there's not enough light. And they said in this article, factors such as clouds, and get this, it says factors such as clouds, jet contrails, and weather have had a great impact on the solar panels. And this solar panel field is in California, right where 15 crosses over into Nevada. And if you Google Earth this, you can see it. It's huge. It's massive. One of the companies that invested in these solar panels is Google. And Google is worth $450 billion. So this it boggles my mind that Google would invest this amount of money in this huge project, thinking that it might fail. So this program is something that's above, it's above a $450 billion with a B, $450 billion company. So this, who knows who's really doing this?
Yeah.
I know this is for water. It is for water because my records showed year after year after year. All of a sudden, when June hits, boom, we are done. The skies are just gorgeous. And clean,
yeah, they don't do it that much
clear.
in the summer. In the summer, they totally lay off. But let me tell you something.
It's so obvious.
You know what? I've been observing what goes on in Mexico and the very south of California for the past 3 years. I've documented 2013, 14, 15, and now 16 in the summer. They are trying to stop those monsoons. And so sometimes we'll get this bizarre monsoonal moisture in Los Angeles coming from the southeast because they're literally blasting those monsoons to try to make it stop raining. So I've been watching them attacking the rain where it rains in the summer. They're working there, not here. So you're absolutely right.
And this year, though, was the first year in that little segment of time where we've been paying attention to it. This has been the first year where they have been unable to stop those rains.
There's been no monsoonal moisture coming in because we gifted all the way down by the Mexican border. We had a goal to gift El Centro, who Wilhelm Reich himself called the Sahara of North America. And we gifted El Centro, and now they can't disrupt the monsoon season like they did.
Yeah, in Arizona, northern Mexico, they're just getting tons of rain. Tons and tons of rain. In July and August.
So there you go.
And the term geoengineering connotates that this spring is to combat global warming. So, and sooner or later, I believe they're not going to be able to hide the fact that they're doing this, and they're going to come out and say, look, we are spraying. We are. But this is the reason why, which is a complete lie. Because here it is summertime, and they're not spraying. This is the hottest time of the year here.
Right.
Just 35, 45 minutes north of me, it's 109 degrees in Atascadero, and they stopped the spraying. So it has nothing to do with global warming.
You know what, John, they
Nothing
say 109 in Atascadero. It's probably about 95. They've been inflating the temperatures here in our mountain community by up to 25 degrees a day at any given time.
We had a whole
so they're trying to promote
fiasco in June, several days where they were exaggerating anywhere between 10 and 25 degrees.
Yeah, I've been monitoring it, and they're promoting the global warming agenda with false reporting. And you know what I've thought about recently? It relates to what you said about how you pictured the lake filling up. You can use your mind. I think they're trying to get our minds to create global warming now. They're convincing everybody that it's hotter than it is.
Yeah, and once you get past about once you get past about 92, 93 or so, it all feels the same anyway.
So you can convince them it's 116. What do they know?
Yeah, you can say to some, if it's 97, you can say it's 107, or you could say 127, and so on and so on.
They know the power of our thoughts, and if they can keep us in fear, if they can keep us preoccupied with other things, then as a world mind, if they can change the world mind to their agenda, then they can drive their agenda.
Right.
The most important thing is to think positive, to think about love, to be grateful. Greg Braden talks about gratefulness and appreciation really moves this matrix, this web, this quantum hologram. It moves it in a positive, loving, creative manner. And every time I go by the paper, I don't get the paper at the house. I don't like to read the paper at the house, but occasionally in my work schedule, I'll go by an account and see a paper and read the front of the paper. And 90% of the time, it's something that's supposed to make you fearful and uncomfortable. And they know that. They know that that will manifest itself. If we worry about these things, these authors are saying in these different books that I'm reading and these authors that I'm studying, if we worry about these things, if we think about these things, we're going to create those things through the power of our thoughts.
What is your opinion then of the objective behind the global warming propaganda?
Well, I also believe that there's other reasons why they're spraying. I believe that it's possible that there's other reasons why they're spraying. Because I've seen them spray in concentrated little areas where there's no rain coming around. Number one, they could be doing that so I can look up and be distracted and look at it and think about it. That's the first reason. The second reason is they could be spraying sporadically just to make it look normal. But there's been some studies in regards to human feelings in regards to the sun. I went to the doctor for my annual physical the other day. The doctor says, you're catastrophically low in vitamin D.
Hey, me too.
And he says, everyone. Yeah, and he says everyone is. And I'm like, well, what's up with that? He goes, well, because people are very conscious about not spending so much time in the sun. We are being robbed of sun rays. Our bodies are not receiving the sun, which is vitamin D, like we have been in the past because of different levels of spraying. Now, there's an interesting study that was done that, and I'm going to read this here because it was pretty interesting. This particular Russian scientist, he analyzed sunspot records, comparing them to riots, revolutions, battles, and war in Russia and 71 other countries over a period of 500 years. He found that a significant percent of what he classified as the most important historical events involved large numbers of people occurred around sunspot maximum. So when the sun is active, when the sun is on us and we're receiving that sun, it energizes us. It triggers humans en masse to act upon existing grievances and complaints through revolts and revolutions. So I think it's possible that they're trying to rob us. It is possible that they're trying to rob us from the sun, so we're complacent. So we're not standing up and saying, no, enough is enough.
Yeah, I think they are definitely robbing us of sun. I mean, we've undone quite a bit of that here, and it's changed things a lot. But for many people, this is still a reality every day. I also tested deficient for vitamin D when I had a blood test, and I take it now. I take tablets for it now, but I actually don't go in the sun very much on purpose because I burn. But anyway, I do think that they have been depriving us of sun for a very long time, and now that's not happening as much. Like, the summer times in LA, they would do weird geoengineering spraying, and it was very odd in the summer, but more and more they can't do that anymore because of all the orgonite. Plus, they do kind of lay off a little bit. But I think another reason for vitamin D deficiency has to do with the energetic bombardment that they're doing with the EMF from the cell tower arrays and the HARP, because that also depletes the body.
Oh, we're the guinea pig generation when it comes to electromagnetic frequencies, for crying out loud. Good grief. We have no idea what these electromagnetic frequencies are doing over our lifespan. And that's why it's so awesome to have orgonite in your house to help transmute these electromagnetic frequencies in your house. I have pieces all around the house. I've had people come over to my house and sit down in my living room and go, you know what? Your house really feels good. I mean, it just feels nice and peaceful. And it took about the sixth person to say that for me to sit there and go, I don't think it's the carpet. I don't think it's the nice warm color of the paint on the wall. I think, there's something here when people are saying that the Oregon energy can and will change this world. And it is.
It is. Mm-hmm. And that's how we change the world. So many people think we need to convince everybody to wake up. And they're yelling at their relatives over Facebook to wake up.
Or petitioning the government.
Right.
Yeah.
And honestly, the best work that I've seen towards waking up everybody is the distribution of orgonite. And this is what Don Croft's premise was when he came up with the whole idea, was you can expand everyone's consciousness by removing the deadly energy of the EMF and providing the life energy of orgone. I've seen tremendous results. You couldn't believe how happy people are in Palmdale, of all places. I mean, everybody was super friendly. We gifted every tower in Palmdale and Lancaster. And the next time we went there, it was so hot. And
it was like 105, and they're still friendly.
Everybody was super nice. It makes people feel happy.
Wow.
So.
Yes, the Oregon is helping all of us wake up. It's helping all of us realize and search for something that's greater. Search for that something that's in between all the stuff, that nothing in between all the stuff. I think people are becoming very thirsty about wanting to find out what's in between all this stuff, because there's more space than there is material things in this universe. And I think people are realizing how powerful they really are with things that are happening. Like, gosh, I was just thinking about that person, they came by. I was just thinking about that person and they called. Or I was really looking to find something today at a thrift store, like a coffee grinder, in case the electricity goes out. And I went into this thrift store that I'd come in there 3 or 4 times, and all of a sudden there's 2 of them there. And I think people are like waking up. They're like, something is up. Yeah. Because of the power that we all have within ourselves. And there's something. Wayne Dyer, who's a wonderful author, rest his soul, he talked about these experiments that they did with these folks with knee problems. And they took 10 people who had, or they took 20 people who had these knee problems, and they opened up these 10 people, and they did this one procedure on their knees to help their condition. And the other 10 people, they opened them up and sewed them back up and didn't do anything. And the people who had no surgery done, no corrective surgery, received the same benefits of the folks that did. And that just shows how much incredible power that we have to participate in our own bodies and in the world around us. And if you take it one step further, we are all, God, when I say this, I get chills up my spine, because we are all in a constant state of prayer by the way we think. We're all creating what's around us because of what we think. And we need to replace all these thoughts. We need to have all these thoughts of appreciation, love, and gratitude. Because that is one thing that's really, really huge, and it's going to help transform our world.
That is so beautifully said. I am so thankful to you for saying that and for being here today. This is such a transformative time. It's so true how we create our world. And earlier in the show, I was talking about this mantra I felt compelled to do. And you know what happened? I didn't finish my story, but I will now. I was doing this mantra, and all of a sudden, I remembered a dream I had last night. I woke up this morning saying, I know I had a dream, but I don't remember it. And I did this mantra, and I remembered the dream. And in this dream, I met Ram Dass, and he was wearing a robe, and he looked at me, and I was overcome with joy and gratitude. And no words were exchanged, but I felt his blessings, and I was so overcome. I just put my hands to my heart chakra and my hands to my pineal gland, and I looked at him with gratitude, and then I tried to hug him, and then we didn't meet, and the dream ended.
Wow.
So it was.
Wow.
This is an intense time, and we do have intense power in our minds. And like you said to me on a phone conversation, it's not that we're powerful, it's that we just are doing it. It's not that one of us can do something someone else can't. It's not like having powers. It's like we just are.
Inherent. It's inherent.
We just are creating constantly. So we have to change the way we think.
Participating. That's the word I like to use is participating. That's the word that Greg Braden uses.
Yeah.
In place of power. It's like we have the ability, not to have the power, but the ability to participate. And we're all participating. We're all part of it. 3 Magic Words is a wonderful book by U.S. Anderson. Changed my life. I wrote and I highlighted in that book so much because this book really describes what we're talking about in regards to the innate connection that we have with everything around us.
Wow.
It's a wonderful book. 3 Magic Words.
We'll take note of that. We're about to reach the end here of Hour 1. We are going to come back in just a few minutes for Hour 2, and we will look forward to discussing a lot more of this stuff with you. We haven't even scratched the surface.
I know.
And I feel like I say this every time, and I know you do too.
It is amazing.
But yeah, I want to get into some interesting stuff. I want to talk about strange stuff we've seen. I want to talk about the engineered drought a little more, why it was engineered, and also why it's over. I want to talk about controlled opposition within the geoengineering / chemtrail movement. And of course, it's all going to come back to the same thing, which is our inherent ability to participate. See, I'm using your terminology now. I like that.
Yeah, we have to.
That's not my term. That's all Greg Braden's. God bless him.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of his.
And God bless his hair. It's fantastic hair. Anyhow,
yeah, he's got great hair.
We'll be back in just a couple minutes with Hour 2 with our guest John Robson. You are listening to The Human Frequency on American Freedom Radio. Welcome back to The Human Frequency on American Freedom Radio, which can be found, of course, at AmericanFreedomRadio.com, which is a listener-supported station. So we would like you to go to that website and donate to keep these programs up and running.
Yes, and please visit our website, thechembo.com, for any more information you'd like on orgonite, how to make your own, what we've done with it. You can see our various results in interesting sky photos. And today we have our friend John Robson with us, and John's been doing some amazing work with orgonite in the Central California coast area, and he's actually distributed his chembuster devices all the way down as far as south as San Diego. So we've got the coast covered, thanks to John. John, you've got some orgonites available for sale in San Luis Obispo, and I'd love it if you could let us know where we can get them.
I'd be happy to do that. Thanks again, folks, for letting me be on the radio on AFR today. I appreciate that. Yes, I do have some pieces, different parts of my local county here. Ruby Dragon in Morro Bay, California. It's 875 Main Street. I do have quite a few pieces there. It's a great store to pick up some crystals to make a chembuster. Sycamore Mineral Springs on the way out to Avila Beach. They're located at 1215 Avila Beach Drive. And then also I Love Rocks. That is at 3970 Broad Street. Another beautiful crystal shop. And then lastly, Volumes of Pleasure in the little sleepy town of Los Osos, California. That's located on Los Osos Valley Road, right next door to Carlock's Bakery. So I do have my pieces there. Help support the cause and pick up some pieces. I got TBs. I got every size and every pyramid shape that you could possibly imagine at those locations.
Well, I highly recommend John's pieces. They're absolutely beautiful, just so artistically made too. You know, it's powerful and it's just gorgeous in your house.
Yes, and it looked very nice beside our orgonite at the 5D event back in September. And of course, people go to our website, thechembo.com. That's THECHEMBOW.com. They can find a link to our Etsy store, and they can see all the pieces that we have for sale. They can find our YouTube channel as well, and we'll be posting this interview to YouTube for sure. And this is such a great wealth of information on this topic of orgone energy. John, I wanted to get right back into it, and we were talking about manifesting earlier, and we have a funny story from a couple years back where we were living in the flats of Hollywood, and we needed a ladder for something, but we didn't know if we had the room for it, so we were just in this headspace and of just saying, boy, we could really use a ladder, and we were crossing the street to go to our bank or CVS or I don't remember what, but this truck passed through the intersection and clunk, this little 8-foot ladder just drops off the truck and lands in the middle of the road. Right. And it was right as the light changed, so traffic had to move through the intersection. So I remember there was a guy crossing in the opposite direction we were going in. So we just kind of exchanged glances and just sort of telepathically said to ourselves, well, we got to move this ladder out of the middle of the street. So we walked out and we took it off the road. And I think we waited there for a couple minutes
we waited for him to come back.
to see if the guy would return, which he didn't. So we got a new ladder.
It's so funny when you say something like,
wow,
ask and you shall receive.
But it was just the timing. We could really use a ladder. Boom. And there it is. So
you got to be very careful what you ask for, because it just might happen. I have many stories I could share about. One that's pretty interesting is this one gal. She was saying, I just need a break. I'm working so hard. I just need a break. I just really need a break. And what did she do? She broke her leg.
Oh, no. That's a break.
And you really need to be careful with this form of energy out there, this quantum hologram, the web, the matrix, call it whatever you want to call it. Call it the creator of all that is. You know, my fiance the other day, she called me up and she was in a panic. I lost my engagement ring, John. I lost the ring. I've been looking for it for 3 hours. And so in all my spiritual wisdom, I said, send out a little mental request saying, thank you that I found this. Thank you for allowing me to come across this ring and find it. I'm so grateful for that. And I'm telling you what, this is crazy. She found it in 15 seconds.
That's amazing.
This is how powerful we are as individuals and collectively. And that's what really worries this 1%. And this is why they're taking such incredibly weird, odd actions to distract us, to control, to attempt to control things, because they're not going to win. They're not going to win. There's too many people who are loving. There are too many people with positive thoughts.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right about that. And part of the reason that they're undertaking said strange actions is because the people that are manifesting love and truth and creativity and wisdom, et cetera, those are the people that are making them realize that their days are really numbered.
Yeah,
and it's changing fast, and there's not a damn thing they can do about it.
Yeah, because they rule by deception. They rule simply because they've tricked us into not knowing that we rule, that we are actually the only authority we need to answer to.
They fooled me, Jerry.
They fooled me, Jerry. Anyway.
Exactly.
But seriously, I have to tell you, in this journey, we've seen some bizarre things, as I know you have too, because we're actually on the front lines of the weather war. And most people don't even know a weather war is happening. Most people still don't even know about chemtrails, believe it or not. To me, it seems like old news. So not only do they not know, but they have no idea that it's being solved as well. So what are some of the strange things you've seen out there in the course of your work?
Well, I tell you, when I started putting these machines up, these all go into people's yards who are behind my train of thought, are behind trying to clean up their environment, are behind the fact that they want to take a stance on what's going up above our skies. So these are homeowners, and I've placed these devices in their backyard, set them all up, and lo and behold, each time that I have set one of these machines up, they've been visited by aircraft, and they've been visited by helicopters. This one that I placed, the very first report that I had, this gal said that there's been a helicopter buzzing her house, just going circles and circles and circles, and it was 8 o'clock at night. There was another one, happened to be the backyard of the gentleman who was growing the sunflowers and the tomatoes and chilies. He lived in this housing complex where the homes to his other sides, there were 2-story complexes, so his backyard was kind of like surrounded by these tall 2-story like condo type buildings. And this helicopter came to his backyard and started doing these tight little circles, looking right in the back of his yard in this small little square of a backyard. He said the guy was so close he could see his face. These were civilian helicopters. And it was so odd that all the neighbors were like, what is going on? This plane is really low and really circling into this little backyard. So this is the most amazing thing. Somehow they must be able to, they must have some sort of measuring device and notice that we're shooting positive orgone into the sky, that we're changing the ionic charge from positive to negative in the sky. Every time I put these up, it's amazing that they get visited mostly by civilian-looking helicopters. And that was another slap in my face, like, something's up here. This thing works. This thing is providing something. This thing is producing something that's of interest to these guys who are checking it out.
Same thing in L.A. That's happened to us over and over again, and to people we've given orgonite to. I gave a couple of pieces. Well, Gabe and I were visiting a friend in South L.A., and we gave some pieces to that house. And, sure enough, that night they were buzzed by a low-flying military helicopter, and it kind of freaked them out. They're new to the whole thing. It's happened many times around L.A., too. Here in the mountains, not so much. I don't think those little planes fly up here too much. But, anytime I hear a helicopter, I get paranoid now because of that. But I've seen something else really weird. I've seen them twice. I have pictures of this on 2 occasions, doing a chemtrail heart over my house. That was a little weird.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I saw that. That was incredible.
Weird stuff, huh?
Yeah, they did a huge omega over my town. And everybody took pictures of it. Everyone was putting it on Facebook, and everybody knows they're saying chemtrails. And it was I still can't figure out how this huge plane made these super tight turns. I have a picture of it. It's amazing. Super tight turns, and made this huge omega sign. And I can only imagine they were saying hello. They are saying hello to me, like, we know you're down there. We know what you're doing.
Quote unquote plane.
Yeah, it may not be a plane as we know it, and that's something that I'm starting to realize as I watch them. Is since I've seen many orbs and kind of strange crafts that I can't really identify, that don't look like planes, don't behave like planes. I'm starting to think that there's a possibility these aren't planes as we know them. I've seen them change shape. I've seen them turn into orbs. I've seen them disappear completely, and I still see the line being sprayed. So there's something perhaps extra dimensional, or that's working on a technological level above what we know.
Right. There's another plane. I don't live by any military bases, but there's another plane that I must have seen 6 different occasions in tandem, and I think they're called AWACS, AWAK, and they are a plane that has that round satellite dish humped up on the back of it, and they would be flying right over the house. And it really kind of tripped me out, because what in the world are these radar planes in tandem flying over my house, flying over the area? I thought it was very, 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 very odd. And obviously they were military.
Yeah, I've seen some very strange military planes in Los Angeles in the last, we've been here in the mountains for a few months now, but in the last couple of years, ever since we started working with Orgonite, I've seen bizarre things. I've seen military planes flying really close together, way too close together, doing strange
like almost
formations.
merging with one
Yeah,
another.
it was bizarre. And I've seen orb-shaped things. I've seen shape-shifting objects. And in LA, there's a group that goes UFO watching at different parks on Sundays. And these guys have these really intense camera lenses, super long lenses to get really zoomed in. And we see the strangest things with that group, and they get some amazing pictures. So there's some weird stuff going on up there. Everybody, in the mainstream would say, if you see something like that, oh, it's a military thing. Well, if it's not an alien thing, if it's a military thing, well, what are they doing up there? I mean, what is this technology they've got that we're not being told about? So something's going on.
Well, we all know that there's so much technology that they are keeping under wraps. I mean, we could talk forever about all of Tesla's free energy that Westinghouse stuck in a safe somewhere and decided not to share it with the world. I mean, that's just a very small example of the fact that there's so much technology out there that they're not sharing with us. And you know what, this Oregon energy is one of those technologies that we as citizens can harness, that we can use for the benefit of the world.
Yeah, and anyone can do it, and anyone can do it even for free with white quartz from the ground. They turn into a medicine
despite
wheel.
what Scott Stevens will say.
And actually, I'm glad you said that, because I needed to bring this up again. There are people out there who are spreading disinformation about orgone energy to this day. There's been a campaign against it since its discovery by Wilhelm Reich. And we've got these guys out there that are scientists that are saying now, yes, we can use orgone energy to clean up chemtrails, but you need an expert to do it, and you have to be in motion, and you need a plane to do it, and that's simply not true.
And it has to be connected to water.
Yeah, and Scott Stevens said that resin doesn't work. This is
and that's just plain wrong.
This is incorrect. This guy is a scientist, and he's observing the atmosphere, and what he says is, this is correct, by the way, he says, we've been looking at weather all wrong. We've been looking at weather from a thermodynamic model. But we need to look at weather from an energetic model and understand the energetic properties of the atmosphere. The very things that you were talking about, John, the positive ionization that they use to prevent cloud formation and the negative ionization that we use to promote the hydrogen bond and allow clouds and rain. So there's a huge campaign to this day that's saying that we don't have the power to do this. We need to petition the government or pay somebody a lot of money to do it.
Yeah, we encounter this all the time, controlled opposition, and we really do talk about it to the nth degree on the show. But I wanted to ask you specifically, John, what encounters you've had along these lines, and of course we're actually coming fresh off of a little incident where we were trying to share some information and someone got very angry with us for it. I won't go into details, but this is the kind of thing where, it is a positive message that is just trying to be shared amongst people who legitimately are concerned and care for the state of the world and the state of people's health and the health of every living thing, indeed. So I wanted to ask you what your experiences were if you have had encounters with controlled opposition in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I've had a different approach to this hobby that I have. I don't have a business card. I don't have a website. I don't really. I don't promote myself in that kind of manner. What I like to do is I like to listen to people. I like to listen what their aches and pains are. I like to listen to people who have problems sleeping. And then I'll ask them, say, well, would you like that to improve? And then I'll start a conversation with them. And, not 100% of the time people are saying, yeah, I would sure love to sleep better. I would sure love to not have migraines. So it's more attraction than promotion. Because I'll start a conversation with someone who seems like they need help, who would benefit from Oregon energy. And then I'll give them a piece and say, go home and go to sleep with us and tell me what happens. So I really haven't encountered any opposition other than, some folks that just sit there and they go, well, this is what that is. And these folks aren't awake yet. They're not awake. I cannot convince someone that this, that orange is green or green is orange. I can't convince someone who's not awake that what is actually going on, because it's just like it's impossible. It's nearly impossible. So I haven't really come across anybody who's that word you use, controlled opposition. I haven't really come across that because I just try to go out and meet people in my everyday life and then try to offer Oregon energy and Oregon devices to benefit their life.
Well, that's kind of the opposite of us, because we try and avoid people in our everyday life.
Exactly. Well, what we do is we gift, and we've gifted thousands of tower busters to California. And yes, it is a huge undertaking. We prefer to just throw them out there and not tell people they're there. Just, let it do the work.
Because it's going to do what it does anyway, whether someone believes it or not, whether they understand it or not.
Well, but I think you're in the enviable position from my standpoint that you can be anonymous. I was absolutely anonymous, and I intended to stay that way and do all of my work and activism unknown. And then, unfortunately, but maybe fortunately, that ended one day at the Global March Against Chemtrails and Geoengineering.
3 years ago this month.
3 years ago this month, when I met Dean Ryan, who worked for InfoWars at the time, and he put me up in a debate against an internet shill that showed up named Mick West of Contrail Science.
Perhaps the most well-known of all internet trolls/shills that there are.
So he put me up in a debate, and I said, of course I'll debate. I guess he could tell I was a loudmouth, and this is what ends up happening is I'm such a loudmouth that I couldn't do it anonymously anymore because I had to teach. Now I got to teach. But you're teaching too. I know you're doing seminars and you're doing workshops now, aren't you?
I do seminars and workshops, and I do gift. I did a lot of gifting. Especially when I do my gal and I, we love to mountain climb, and there's this very large TB that I make. It's made out of a huge cottage cheese container. It's a very, very large version of a TB, and I put a heart on top of it, and I meditate with it, and then we go on a hike, and we put it on the tallest mountain that we hike that day. And that's actually what I did down in Laguna Lake. Is we placed one of these very large TBs on Madonna Mountain, and then also on Bishop's Peak. And, when we were up there, it was kind of interesting. There was a lot of kids hiking around and whatnot, and we had a little ceremony. I just said, hey, you see the lake down there? We're going to bring water back, so let's all be really thankful that this water is going to be coming back. And I held this big, huge TV out. We all put our hands on it and did this little thing, and it was they were a little. It was done, I guess, in a little jest with them, but I think it was powerful. It was powerful. I mean, the water came back. So gifting is part. I know that you guys have gifted all over the place. You guys are on fire. That is so wonderful. California is so happy that you guys are doing that. But I do gift cell towers. There's, I'm finding more and more cell towers in the San Luis Obispo County region, and I'm like, gosh, I got to get back over there. I got to do that one. I got to do this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like us.
A big, huge. Yeah, thank you guys for all that you do in California.
Oh, wow.
I mean, seriously.
Well, you're welcome. I can't help but do it, and, it's a joy.
There's actually a lot more to be done.
Yeah, we just went down to Arvin and Weed Patch last week, and that was...
As you can tell, a very fun excursion.
Yeah, we went into, the armpit of Central California, basically, and gifted another 20 towers, and then went to Bakersfield and bought some food, because there's not much to eat up here in the mountains. So we actually did East Bakersfield this time, too. We had done a lot of Bakersfield by this point. We got to finish. That place is a mess, let me tell you. Energetically, wow. Crazy. So many towers. You've never seen so many towers.
Wow.
Hey,
I put some in my suitcase, and the X-ray machine didn't pick anything up. And I was able to bring some to Hawaii, and I gifted Kauai this last trip to Kauai.
That's right.
And I also brought some to New York, and I gifted the wonderful buildings in the name's escaping right now. I can't. The nations. What's it called?
Oh, the United Nations.
United Nations, thank you.
Oh, they need it because they're trying to enslave all of us.
Yeah, they need it. Perhaps
they really need it.
Perhaps as much as Bakersfield.
I gifted
more, maybe.
Yes, I gifted the United Nations building.
Yeah, good for you. That's awesome. Yeah, New York desperately
with
needs...
love.
Yeah, and you have to.
And did you see any shape-shifting reptilian humanoids fleeing in horror at that point?
No, I just saw a lot of really expensive cars going in and out of the compound. Yeah. It's basically a compound.
Yeah, well, that's where the elite reside, I guess. But it's important that you did New York. That place is somewhere I could not live because of the level of electromagnetic pollution. I don't even think I could go back to L.A. We covertly disabled our neighbor's smart meter because they've got the smart meter just facing at our house, just blaring at us all the time, and I could hear it. And we got the smart meter tensor ring from Brian Besco, twistedsage.com, and it's very subtle. You put the ring around it, and they haven't seen it yet. And now that I don't
nice.
Yeah, I can't hear all that noise now because I hear EMF. And since the tensor fields are similar to orgone energy, they might be the same thing. It restructured the EMF and quieted it. So I actually don't hear the same data transfer that I did. And it's really nice because it's quiet now.
Wow.
But
like I said before, we are the guinea pig society in regards to all this EMF that's that we're being bombarded with everything.
The guinea pigs are starting to turn the tables on their aggressors, and I think the biggest example of this is the engineered drought, which is now over, thanks to the work you do and the work that everyone else does throughout the state of California and beyond at targeting those sources of positive ions and death energy. I really can't call it by any other term. Don Croft is spot on in that assessment. Neutralizing these sources of this toxic energy that caused this drought in the first place. And despite the fact that the media just, of course, does what they do to keep hammering the drought into people's heads over and over and over ad infinitum, nature doesn't lie.
Right.
And that, again, goes back to the work you do and the work we do of detailing our gifting and what happens in the environment because, like I said, nature doesn't lie. So when you get the evidence of it, it really does strike a blow to the drought propaganda. And I want to compliment you, of course, for the work that you do in undoing this drought. And I know that California has had each year just gets better. I mean, the 2014-15 winter was fair. The next one, this last one that we had, was very good. I predict that this coming one is going to be absolutely off the hook.
I do too. And it also has to do, like I mentioned earlier, with the positive collective consciousness. I think it was Greg Braden or another author that I was listening to, reading, that was saying that, our thoughts can act, and I mentioned our thoughts can alter the material world. Well, that includes the weather. Our positive thoughts, our positive collective consciousness can change the weather. Mm-hmm. And I love the fact that you referred to the Emoto experiments, because I actually have this little piece of paper. He believed that water was a blueprint for our reality, and that the really important emotional energies, vibrations, could change the physical structure of water. The emotional energies, that's what Greg Braden talks about, and I'm sure you know about the emotions, feeling it deep down inside. Mm-hmm. Like I was saying, we're in a constant state of prayer. When you really believe in something, when you really feel it, like we do, like we're passionate about this, we're making changes even without the use of our devices. And like Gabriel, like you said, it's like a vitamin.
Yeah.
These are like vitamins to work when we're not there. When we're not thinking the positive thoughts, it's working there. Orgone devices work 24 hours a day, regardless if someone picks it up, throws it away, and ends up in a landfill. No matter where it is, it's constantly working.
I want to ask you a question about the intention when you make orgonite, because when we make orgonite, we have specific intentions that go into it. Now, do you also have specific prayers or intentions or thoughts while you're making them?
Well, the crystals. I read this one article from this one gal. She makes beautiful, beautiful pyramids. I mean, her stuff is a work of art. She's the one who actually drove me and motivated me to get a little bit more creative with my crystals. And she talked about crystals. They're kind of like the flash drive. They're kind of like the hard drive or the memory card of the world, and they can actually pick up and feel intention. So, before I make these devices, I'll take the crystals and just hold them with the intention of love and bettering Mother Nature, with taking care of our earth.
Yes. Yeah, when we do it, it's similar. We talk about, we think about rain and snow. And we also, with certain pieces, we're putting in more of the consciousness expansion aspect. So, yeah, we do the same thing.
That's important because, I'm repeating myself when I'm saying that we are so powerful in this participation that we can do and that we are doing, and that has been happening, and it's been gaining momentum. And that's why this very small percent of folks, they're nervous because and the Heart Math Institute around the world, they have these sensors to measure how the magnetic field of the world can change us as people. But also, these sensors around the world are there to see how we as a people can change the Earth's energies. And it's really exciting to me to know that we all as people have so much contribution in everything that's going on in our life.
Yeah, I'd like to actually get the link for that or the name of the institution. Is that Heart Math Institution?
Heart Math, M-A-T-H. They got a great video on the internet talking about the torus field around our heart, and how this energy field around our heart goes out about 6 feet. And if measuring devices were strong enough, they figure that they could probably measure the heart out to several miles, if not infinity on the quantum level. So everything that we're feeling, and experiencing is being shared around the world, like so quickly. Our love and compassion for things, for people and situations that are happening around the world, it does help. It is helping them. And this is what's happening on a worldwide level, or worldwide scale. And that's where this 1% is concerned, because we are sharing love. We are waking up as a people. We are waking up as a world consciousness. We're waking up, and we're saying, individually, we're saying enough is enough. We're all saying it. Mm-hmm. We might not be protesting or emailing or on Facebook, but we're all feeling it, and it's all out there, and it's huge. It's powerful. It's crazy. It's really awesome. It's so huge. It's so huge.
Yeah, and the most important part, I think, is that they have absolutely no defense for it.
But don't you think they would be better off, too, with this consciousness expansion? I mean, it's good for the 1%. Well, it's good for everyone, because you cannot live happily when you're oppressing billions of living humans. So
the source of the oppression is not human in nature.
Right, and that goes to the...
and that's a whole other radio
Yeah, that's
show.
a whole other ball of wax.
But
it's sickness.
This all is absolutely...
It's sickness.
Well, Wilhelm Reich, before in the early days, he called it emotional plague.
He did.
That was before he had a term for it. But yeah, it's been going on like this for a long time. But like you said, this is sort of the end of the line here, and this is fascinating information, and it makes absolute sense to both of us. And we know a lot of people that are still, despite the wealth of information that there is on the solution, are still just so immersed in the problem.
Well, they haven't remembered who they are. So a good source for information on this is Guy Lankta. That's G-H-I-S. And then the family name, L-A-N-C-T-O-T. Guy Lankta is a doctor who wrote a book called The Medical Mafia. And this is a book I've got to read, because I just discovered her, and I've been listening to her talking
2004, online. I believe.
She's amazing, because all of her findings of the conspiracy within the medical community to keep people sick, it all came back to knowing who you are and doing what's right for yourself and remembering that you're the creator of your world. Everything came back to your own power.
Obeying the internal authority and not being fooled by the illusion that is the external authority, which is actually not an authority at all.
She has said that if you're sick, don't go to the doctor, because then you're going to get a diagnosis, and then you'll really be sick.
Yeah.
We can cure a lot of these illnesses, without medical attention.
Absolutely. I love that term, internal authority. The internal authority.
Well,
I really like
words.
that.
Those are her words.
Yeah, it's the authority is only within yourself. It's only your soul.
And if you obey that authority, then the the false external authorities, they just go away. They cease to exist at that point. But it's only when you are disobeying your internal authority, the authority that is you and yourself. When you ignore that authority, that's when the external ones swoop in. And to touch on what Sharon said just a few scant minutes ago, it is completely on a basis, on a platform of deceit that they exist in the first place. And by ignoring that authority within you, that allows them to, what do we say, if you don't control your mind, someone else will do it for you.
That came from Laurie McDonald, who will be our guest next week. And she's going to talk a lot about that mind control and the alien influence. But in the case of Guy, just coming back to that, when we're doing this, we're not actually saying no to the government. We're saying yes to ourselves. That's important. We gotta stop thinking of this in a negative way. We're saying yes to us. We're taking back our world.
Yeah, when you say no to the government, you're still operating from a fear-based perspective. But it's when you go internally and you eliminate the distraction. You don't even acknowledge it because you're so so much going into yourself, into the center of truth and light and wisdom, et cetera, when you consciously undertake that action, that is what makes the external BS just completely dissolve away.
Right, and it still really so surprises me when these studies come out and they literally say the placebo effect, and people, it goes in one ear and out the other. They don't realize, they're not listening, they're not sitting there saying, "Oh my gosh, did you hear that? Hey, Pete, this is a miracle. These 10 people received a sugar pill, and these other people received high blood pressure medication, and both groups benefited. This is an absolute miracle. Oh my gosh, I can heal myself." These people healed themselves. People they're not astounded by that, and it's so astounding to me because it's like miracle status that we have this ability to do this, and it's been suppressed. It's been hidden. It's through the media and through television and through advertisements to keep us distracted from the ability to do this for ourselves because somebody wants to make money off it. Also known as the pharmaceutical industry.
Well, I'm kind of changing gears again because I wanted to ask you about the devices you make because you have a knowledge of the crystals. So I wanted to ask you, you mentioned you used pyrite and other various minerals and the selenite. We put selenite in there. We believe it keeps it energetically clear. Can you explain how some of these other minerals work with your devices?
Well, I am not an expert on crystals or minerals. I do try to choose things in my recipe that are stones of compassion, stones of healing. And so I have basically a mineral Bible that talks about each stone and mineral and crystal, and I do use the selenite because it helps keep crystals charged. But most of the items that I use, whenever I run across a description of healing, of compassion, those are the minerals and stones that I like to use. And incidentally, when I talking about recharging crystals with my chembuster, I make these chembusters so you can remove the double terminated crystal and sit it out in the sun for 2 or 3 hours and then put them back in to re-energize them. Some of the tutorials that I saw online wanted you to silicone them into the bottom. But I noticed it was amazing because I had my buster in the backyard, and all of a sudden it was starting to spray, and they were sticking. I'm like, what is going on? What's going on? I don't understand this. So I started doing some more research, and I was like, you know what? These crystals need to be recharged. I need to get them out. So I built a whole entire new one, and I made it so you could take the crystals out and recharge them. And it's amazing when the chemtrail starts sticking in the neighborhood, I go back out to my machine. I pull out the crystals, I charge them, put them back in, and within a day or so, boom, it's all clear again. So the crystals need to be recharged.
Yes, I think so too. Sometimes I will rinse the orgonites to kind of recharge them. But then in the environment, though, you've got your tower busters out there. They're not getting any special treatment.
Well, we put the selenite in all of our pieces, and the tower busters are no exception. We sprinkle just a little bit of powdered crushed selenite in there. And as far as the chembuster crystals go, for the one we have, we appreciate that ability to take them out, and we'll put them in a bowl with some water, maybe a piece of shungite in there, and just meditate with them, maybe with some nice ambient music for, 15, 20 minutes. And then we'll sometimes just do an additional little implementation of our intentions at that point. And then I'll put them back into the base and put the 5-foot pipe lengths back on again and set up the thing again. And I also have noticed that it definitely helps to do that from time to time. And That's good that you mentioned that because I think we're actually due to do that.
Yeah, it's probably about time. Yeah, we do maintain your chembuster, and it's nice that we have that option. Do you actually go around? You're going around to each of your chembusters and maintaining them?
Well, like I said, I place them in backyards of folks who are motivated and interested, and I show them exactly how to maintain it. Now, it doesn't have to be, because it works 24/7, but through my observation and documentation, it really seems as though when I pull out those crystals and I sit them in the sun for 3 hours and put them back in, it really boosts it back up again. Once those crystals get tired, it might only be working at 35, 40%, but boy, when we pull those crystals out and put them back in, it really kicks it back in. So it is always working, whether you pull the crystals out or not, but when you do, boy, it really, really just is a sucker punch and refreshes those double terminated crystals.
That's funny that you mentioned sucker punch because we have a device called a sucker punch.
Spelled a little differently than you probably meant.
It's a SUCCOR, which I think means mercy.
Yes.
And this is a device we use, which is an anti-surveillance device when we're gifting orgonite, because we used to gift without it, and we get followed by all kinds of unpleasant helicopters and planes, watching what we're doing.
Same ones that you talked about in hour one. They were on us like white on rice.
Yeah, but with the sucker punch, that deters them.
Yeah, I saw those online, and that's another item that I want to experiment and make. There's so many Oregon devices that I want to make, but I'm kind of dedicated to what I make. I make it well, and it works, and I have fun doing it. But there still are other things I'd like to expand to and start building as well. And one of them is a sucker punch for that exact same reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, yeah, I think it's a lot safer when you're out there. I always recommend people, too, that they turn off their phones when they're out there doing this work because,
turn off the mind control devices.
Yeah, those are for surveillance. You want to be discreet when you're doing this work.
Turn off the phones, turn off the GPS. Shouldn't even have a GPS. You should be reading a damn map.
Yeah, well, most people are using that now, and we've noticed that they can't get to us using it. No matter where we live, it sends them clear in the wrong direction. So I don't recommend people use GPS anyway. But, I wanted to talk a little bit more about just what you've observed with the engineering of the weather, because I do want to talk more. You're very observant in a very scientific way. Just a little more about your observations of what's been going on in California, and if you think that, we've been able to put things back.
Well, rainfall here right on top of my house this last season was absolutely spectacular. I have a rain gauge, and I recorded it every single time that we had precipitation, and it was amazing. This is the greatest season that we've had. But some of the observations, that I've had in regards, how about this, to opposition, to someone saying, well, no, I don't see that your way. I don't see that that's something abnormal. Like today, for instance, we didn't have very much air traffic at all, like hardly any air traffic. And I can hear it. I can hear when a plane's at 35,000, 40,000 feet. You can hear the roar. We didn't have that much today. And they say that passenger air traffic is the numbers are astounding. It's huge every single solitary day. And then out of the blue, when they're trying to make sure that when they're attempting to move the weather pattern, they'll spray over and over and over. There'll be a plane like every 4 minutes, and it's very odd behavior. That's what I would encourage someone to do is, if they're observing this, look for odd airplane traffic behavior, because it's really obvious. If you just look, people are so involved in their smartphones. I personally don't own a smartphone. I have a flip phone. I use this phone for texting and for communicating.
Sorry.
I have a laptop that my company has given to me for work. If I need to get on the email, I can get on my laptop. It's distracting when you drive. And I like to look up and see people and be with the people that I'm with. It's discouraging to see a society walking around looking at the palm of their hand, when they could be enjoying, life.
Yeah,
I hope that
I don't use one either, except I have a phone for when I travel, and other than that, we just have a landline.
Well, I just want to say real quick, John, I appreciate and admire the fact that you have your own weather measuring equipment, because and this is part of what we've been discovering very much so in the last few months, is that we definitely cannot trust those who we trust to provide accurate weather information, because the numbers are all fudged, and this has been going on for a lot longer than people think. Reich encountered it in his time in the 50s.
Yeah, and actually NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, that is responsible for so much of this so-called weather reporting, has a lot of facilities that are in heat sinks and in places that are going to give hotter than normal temperatures. There's even been there have been hundreds of weather stations closed because someone uncovered that this was going on and they had to do it. So the information's so inaccurate, the temperatures are overinflated, and they're underreporting rainfall, drastically. Mm-hmm. They even change it. I had one LA Times article that I was reading that the next day, I had read this article, the next day they changed the numbers of the inches of rain. They decreased them. So it's happening.
And it's good that you have those devices handy to measure the actual totals, because what did I say not long ago? Nature doesn't lie.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and I'm glad you're bringing it up, because I'm looking at my little record book right now, and I see in January 2016 we had 5 inches of rain right here on top of my house, and in March I had another 5.25 inches rain. And I'm going to have to look now at the county's records and see what they reported. That's going to be very interesting to see what they reported for my little sleepy town of Los Osos.
Yeah, I encourage you to undertake that mission, because you may be you may be starting to go down yet another rabbit hole here with the disinformation network that is weather reporting.
Yeah, and, and then you can let me know, and I can report it on the blog, and tell everybody about where you are too, because I'm just reporting where I am.
Certainly. And, as I look at this little book here, it reminds me of another theory that I had. That I was thinking that another reason why this spring might be happening was to protect the nanotechnology from solar flares and coronal mass ejections, what they call CMEs from the sun. And there's a website, it's spaceweatherlive.com, and it will give you up-to-the-hour updates on solar flare activity. There's A-class, B-class, C-class, M and X. M and X are rather large solar flares, and in those categories, there'll be an M class, M 6.7, and then the numbers will go up until you hit to X. And the days that we had M class flares, just recently, M class flares, which is sizable, we had no spraying. No spraying at all. If they were doing the spraying to prevent the grid or to protect nanotechnology, they for sure would have been spraying on these particular days when we had M-class flares. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they're seriously contradicting themselves. The other thing that the UN and the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, reports that they are doing this as solar radiation management. They say they're doing this to prevent global warming, but that if they stop, that global warming will spiral out of control. But then in the next sentence they'll say, oh, but we're not doing anything. So it's like they contradict themselves there too.
Well, yeah, and I've heard that exact same comment, and then they completely stop in June and July. That it would spiral out of control if they stopped the program.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's a lot of contradictions here, and to me, I see the weather modification as being done for money and power, control over humanity. And I definitely see it's more than just weather modification going on here. This is, heavy metals coming down on us, and this is frequencies being used to mind control us. And if they load us up with metals and they load up the atmosphere with metals, that's more conductive. And what we do by detoxing and with, getting the heavy metals out of the body and using orgone energy is we remove that conductivity of the heavy metals in the body, and we remove the dangerous influence of the energy. So it's all reversible, but I could see what they're doing, and it's definitely about weather control and a lot more.
Right, and on your comment about detoxing, I would encourage the listeners today and tonight to switch from fluoride toothpaste to non-fluoride toothpaste and do some research. I won't go into that topic right now, but do some research on fluoride and stop using fluoride toothpaste. And
don't drink fluoridated water.
Yeah,
we started distilling our water, so now we don't have to deal with that anymore because, I think I was really polluted. I think I'm still dealing with a lot of pollution in my body. I'm tackling the nuclear radiation with the rad detox that I got on Ken Rolla's site, freshandalive.com. So it's just one thing after another. We got to clean ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's not just about refusing vaccines and staying away from non-organic corn and soy. It goes far beyond that.
It's a lot of work.
Far beyond that.
It's a lot of work.
It goes, much farther beyond that.
It is a lot of work, Sharon, and I can't help but feel a sense of rejuvenation that, I was aware of it already, but there's so many people that are doing this work. And John, I want to thank you for coming on and talking about the work that you do to undo the parasitic inversion where everything is flipped around and right is wrong and dark is light and right is wrong, and it's called georestoration for a reason, and that is because we are restoring what is natural on this planet, and we're doing our best. John, I know you are, and I want to thank you sincerely for coming onto our show and taking 2 hours to talk about the work that you're doing in your city and beyond.
Well, thank you, Gabriel, and thank you, Sharon. It's my passion. It's my hobby. It's so neat to see results working with Orgon energy, working with Orgon devices. And I tell you, I'll repeat myself for your listeners, I would not have gotten this far unless I knew and saw that it was real, that I had results, that people were coming back with testimonials on how it benefited their life with sleep, with dreams, with migraines, what I see above my skies, up and down the state of California, the weather coming back. It's really exciting to be able to participate in this matrix, in this field, in this creator of all that is, because we are all part of this equally, of this creation, and we can participate in this, and we do every single day. And like I said earlier, we're in a constant state of prayer. We need to meditate. We need to think positive thoughts. We need to be kind to each other. We need to learn how to coexist.
Yeah, and I'm glad you used the word matrix. We're swapping out a false matrix with a better one.
A divine matrix.
Yep.
And this is where we really can participate and create our world. Well, we are almost at the end of our show. Please donate to American Freedom Radio. Help keep us on the air. You can go to the website and on AmericanFreedomRadio.com if you're not there right now, and click donate. And also please visit thekembo.com and check out our work. You can see our orgonites. And John, one more time, what are the 3 places or 4 places that people can see and buy your orgonite?
Yes, thank you. Ruby Dragon in Morro Bay, California at 875 Morro Bay, or Main Street, Sycamore Mineral Springs on Avila Beach Drive. I Love Rocks at 3790 Broad Street, and Volumes of Pleasure in Sleepytown, Little Los Osos, California on Los Osos Valley Road. Thank you very much, American Freedom Radio.
So much, John.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and please visit with us again next week on the Human Frequency on American Freedom Radio.